I've got a very strong thesis on this that as the market cap of crypto goes up over time from 2 trillion to where I think it's going, which is 100 trillion, you're going to generate more wealth than any other trade in all human history in the shortest period of time.
As recent Fed rate cuts and the ongoing global liquidity cycle take effect, Bitcoin is gaining traction. In a recent interview on RealVision, Raoul Pal delves into the key macro factors influencing the future of crypto. He discusses the Federal Reserve's dovish stance, the strategic moves by Saudi Arabia in the global economy, and presents compelling Bitcoin chart patterns that indicate we may be at the beginning of a significant rally. At the time of this discussion, Bitcoin is trading around $63,000, reflecting a 1% increase in the last 24 hours and a 9% rise over the past week. Before we continue with the rest of the video, do check out daily 5-minute crypto newsletter with all the latest crypto and Bitcoin news. It's a fantastic analysis of on-chain crypto data and breakdowns, and the best part is it's absolutely free. They'll cover expert predictions, breakdowns of on-chain crypto data, and any breaking news you need to know, all in a nutshell. Click the first link in the description and enter your email to join over 50,000 others in becoming a better crypto investor right now.
Everything I look at, this really is the zone. So see if I can share this. One sec. I mean, this is a killer. I mean, it's an absolute beautiful chart. It's the GMI Global Weekly Liquidity, so that's both private sector liquidity and public sector liquidity from the large global economies. I mean, it's just perfect. It leads by 10 weeks. M2 does pretty much a pretty similar job as well. So you've got that. You've got Bitcoin seasonality is always strong from this point onwards. I'm going to share another chart as well. Let's have a look at this one. And Bitcoin is also repeating what it did last year. I mean, literally perfectly. So we've got the macro overlay. The Fed are going to keep cutting over time. The other central banks are going to be involved. We've got the seasonality in place. We've got the global liquidity cycle in place. I don't know what else is left. It's kind of like it has to be now. Even the chart patterns, usually you get 3 touches at the top, 3 touches at the bottom of a range. That usually works. So I think all of the elements are in play. That volatility probably happens close to the top of the trend, before the breakout. You're kind of waiting around at that 70,000 Bitcoin level, 70 to 75,000, and it chops around frustratingly there. Before, I think either way, whatever the outcome of the election, it goes up afterwards anyway. We've seen that in the past. But we saw the last time Trump was in, obviously, because Trump is very tax light, very stimulative, and he's very pro-crypto, so regulatory stuff, both for tech and for crypto, that you feel like that could be an extra juice if that were to happen. And 2016-17 was the last Trump cycle. We didn't have the Fed actually easing liquidity massively. They were just starting to raise rates, and they stopped for 2016-17. And it was the Chinese who were creating the liquidity, and the market went bananas-tastic in 2017. ETH versus ETH last year. I can't find a closer fit. I can't. That's crazy. The other thing about the ETH Bitcoin cross is it's actually driven by the ISM and the business cycle. So you're kind of all in that point on a weekly, for those who like technicals, on a weekly DMARC count. ETH just put in a 13 low as well. It feels that everything is in place, but that chart is quite remarkable. Now, we know that these charts fall apart just when you want them the most to work. So expect it to not work, but it's just interesting contextually. I've been buying it just because I've been buying Xcopy and Beeple stuff, mainly Xcopy. Really my entire ETH portfolio is just NFT, digital art. That's it. And I'm comfortable with that, but I've got a very strong thesis on this that as the market cap of crypto goes up over time from 2 trillion to where I think it's going, which is 100 trillion, you're going to generate more wealth than any other trade in all human history in the shortest period of time. And that gets recycled into art. And, I started buying Xcopy really in January and have been buying all year. That triggered a whole bunch of people. And I've shared the thesis a lot with people that, the really culturally relevant things will will be highly sought after first, but I think it will broaden out again. Art doesn't go away. And so we've seen punks, X-copy, and, there's very little Beeple for sale at all. So those are there. Yes, Fidenzas have come down in price, and yes, some of the others have come down in price. But I think we will see a rotation. It's kind of like, if you think of X-copy and Beeple and punks as Bitcoin.
As we just heard, Raoul Pal explained that the recent Fed rate cuts could significantly impact Bitcoin's future performance, with potential price movements aligning with broader economic shifts. In this segment, Pal explores how Saudi Arabia's financial decisions, particularly in the context of global markets, could play a pivotal role in shaping economic dynamics, including the energy sector's influence on liquidity. He shares insightful charts that highlight Bitcoin's seasonal cycles and discusses how these factors, combined with central bank policies, may set the stage for a substantial rally. Now, let's delve deeper into how these elements might converge to drive Bitcoin to new heights.
They came out as a holder of $780 million Bitcoin. I know also you're somebody who speaks to various different sovereign wealth funds, various different even nations themselves in terms of advising about blockchain and blockchain strategy. Do you think we have more of these sort of stories coming? We saw Qatar come out with crypto regulation about a week ago. Or has it been kind of quiet? I know you've spoken to people on both sides there. Like, do you think we're going to see adoption from a sovereign and sovereign wealth fund level from some of the conversations you've had?
I don't think, if they do, it's going to be below the radar screen. The last thing you want to flag is to the US reserve currency that you don't want to hold their currency. And, something they're kind of somewhat hostile to, you want to hold that. So, Bhutan is different. They're recycling electricity. We know Iran has it. I'm sure the Saudis have mined it. I've spoken to Abu Dhabi about using their gas flare-offs to do it. So I think there'll be experimentation, but I don't think there's going to be sovereign nation state hoarding. And don't forget, the US knows how to analyze blockchain down to every single small detail. So you can't evade them. The only real way of doing it is what I think Temasek did, which is I think they had investments in Bitcoin miners to get virgin Bitcoin. So therefore, it's the only untraceable way of doing it. To do it somewhat in their sovereign wealth in some respects, but it's kind of hidden, pushed to the periphery. Don't forget the Saudis are not big in this yet. They've still yet to be convinced. The regulation's not super clear. Yes, potentially Bahrain, Qatar, some of those other states might do something, but again, below the radar screen. I don't think there's going to be any public announcement, much like Bhutan managed to do this without anybody knowing. And this has been going on for several years. I think it's just a big red herring. It's just the macro doomsters looking for another reason why the markets are going to collapse and everything's going to go to hell and inflation's going to come roaring back. And this is just one of those things. We've had signals in the past where it didn't work. We've got distortions in the yield curve because of how the Fed are issuing notes and stuff at the short end. I think ignore.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing any. Everybody I speak to is saying they're not raising capital right now. Everyone's kind of in that wait and see mode. And people are a bit disheartened, not disenchanted, but disheartened. And I think the RAA networks, the family offices, and some of the institutions, they're really more likely to FOMO in at north of 80,000 Bitcoin. And right now it's rotation. It's a bit of money that went on the sidelines, goes back in. I don't see anything more.
Got 25K.
At XPAM, we've got a big list of people who came in for inquiries around March, April. And then the market traded sideways and they're like all umming and ahhing and, oh yeah, I'll do my paperwork later. And my guess is the conversion rate of those guys will be very high once we're hitting all-time highs.
Raoul Pal's insights provide valuable considerations as we anticipate how Bitcoin may react to the changing global financial landscape. We'd love to hear your thoughts on a few key questions. Do you think the recent Fed rate cuts will mark a turning point for Bitcoin? How do you perceive Saudi Arabia's financial strategies influencing the broader crypto market? For more Daily Dose Crypto news, check out these 2 awesome videos on your screen. Click now and we will see you on the next video.